The envelope sat on our kitchen counter like a loaded gun. 3 years of building my jewelry business in Europe, and this was my welcome home gift: divorce papers wrapped in Derek's pristine handwriting. Sign these and we can discuss terms. Your success has changed you. Time to remember your priorities. I'm Olivia, and until 10 minutes ago, I thought I was living someone else's nightmare. The house still smelled like the lasagna I'd made and frozen before leaving for Milan 3 weeks ago. He'd probably heated it up last night, eating alone at our granite countertop while plotting this ambush. My hands shook as I pulled my phone from my pocket, thumb hovering over Derek's number. The urge to call him, to demand answers, to beg for explanations crashed through me like a wave. But something else rose up instead, something cold and sharp, like the metal I shape into delicate pieces every day. You've reached Derek Bennett. Leave a message. I got your note. Funny thing about priorities, they tend to shift when you realize you've been living someone else's version of your life. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I'll have my lawyer contact yours. I hung up and started moving, pulling suitcases from the garage. The same ones I'd unpacked barely an hour ago. As I moved through our house, our perfect, magazine-worthy house, memories ambushed me at every turn. Derek's smile when I sold my first collection. His gradual withdrawal as my name gained recognition. The subtle digs about my travel schedule, the passive-aggressive comments about normal wives. The jewelry box on my dresser caught my eye, my grandmother's sapphire ring inside. Derek had promised to have it sized for me 3 years ago. It was still too big, sliding around my finger whenever I wore it. One more promise he'd never kept. My phone buzzed. Clara's name lit up the screen. Tell me you're not still at that house, she said before I could speak. Packing now. Could use a friend. I'll bring wine and boxes. And Olivia? Remember what you told me about that client who tried to lowball you last month? Know your worth? Exactly. And honey? You're worth way more than his terms and conditions. I slipped the sapphire ring into my pocket as I heard Derek's car pull into the driveway. Perfect timing. I'd rather he watch me leave than explain why I'm going. Sometimes the best revenge isn't what you say, but what you don't. The front door opened. I grabbed my bags and headed for the stairs, my heart pounding but my steps sure. He wanted to discuss terms? Fine. But they'd be mine, not his. And they'd cost him far more than he was ready to pay. Clara's spare bedroom feels like a confessional booth tonight. We're sprawled across her guest bed, surrounded by half-empty wine glasses and the wreckage of my marriage. While I pieced together the moment everything started falling apart. Remember when Derek came to my first jewelry show? I twist my wedding ring. Muscle memory still reaching for it even though it's sitting in my purse. He bought me that ridiculous bouquet of roses. Told everyone how proud he was. You mean the show where you sold every single piece? Clara's voice carries an edge I've never noticed before. Funny how his pride started shrinking right around then. The memory hits like a slap. Derek's smile tightening as buyers clustered around my display. His hand on my lower back, steering me away from conversations. The drive home filled with suggestions about scaling back and maintaining work-life balance. My phone buzzes. Another text from Derek: we need to talk about the house payments. You can't just walk away from our life together. I show Clara the message. She snorts. Our life together? You mean the life where you funded his fancy car payments while he complained about your expensive hobby? He wasn't always like this. But even as I say it, I'm remembering other moments. The way he'd introduce me at corporate parties: this is my wife, she makes jewelry, dismissing 6 years of international success with 4 words. How he'd check our joint account daily after I started making more than him. Wasn't he? Clara reaches for her phone, scrolling through photos. Look at this. Your anniversary dinner last year. The picture shows Derek and me at Le Cirque. I'm wearing the necklace I designed for their winter collection. Derek's looking at his phone, not me. I'd forgotten about that night, how he'd spent 30 minutes telling his colleague about his upcoming promotion, never mentioning that my pieces were being featured in Vogue that month. Another text arrives. Lucas says you're not answering his calls either. He's worried about you. We all are. Since when does Lucas care? I mutter, but something clicks. Lucas, who always seemed to show up when Derek and I fought. Who always had Derek's ear. Who knew exactly when to call with some crisis that needed his brother's attention. You know what's interesting? Clara sets down her wine. Your success started threatening Derek right around the time Lucas lost his job in jewelry wholesale. Funny coincidence. I stare at her, pieces falling into place like stones in a setting. You think Lucas? I think someone's been whispering in your husband's ear for years. And I think it's time we found out exactly what he's been saying. The room feels colder suddenly. I reach for my phone, but not to answer Derek's texts. Instead, I pull up Lucas's contact info, my finger hovering over the call button. Sometimes the path to revenge requires a detour through truth. Moving into Mom's house feels like admitting defeat, but the text from my accountant confirms what I already suspected. Derek's been systematically draining our joint accounts for months. The timestamps match perfectly with my European business trips. He can't do this, Mom says, watching me unpack my jewelry-making tools in her sunroom. You built that business from nothing. Actually, he can't. I hold up my phone, showing her the separate business account statements. What he doesn't know is that I moved all the business assets 3 months ago. When he started asking too many questions about my Milan contracts. The doorbell rings. Through the frosted glass, I recognize Lucas's silhouette. Mom shoots me a warning look, but I nod. Time to start pulling threads. Olivia, thank God. Lucas steps in, all concerned brother-in-law energy. Derek's a mess. He says you've frozen him out of everything. Interesting choice of words. I keep arranging my tools, not looking up. Kind of like how someone froze you out of the jewelry wholesale business last year. His pause lasts a fraction too long. That was different. Market changes, you know how it goes. Do I? Now I meet his eyes. Because I remember you telling Derek how unstable the jewelry market was. Right before he started questioning every business decision I made. Lucas's face shifts, surprise, then calculation. You're upset. Reading things into your bankruptcy filing? I pull out my phone again. Public records are fascinating. Especially the part where you lost everything to a competitor 3 weeks before you started having those private talks with Derek. Mom moves closer, her presence solid behind me. Lucas glances between us, his practiced concern cracking. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You lost your business to my biggest European distributor. The same one who just signed an exclusive contract with me. I lean forward. Did you really think I wouldn't find out you tried to undercut my prices? That you used Derek to get information about my designs? His face drains of color. My phone buzzes, Derek calling again. I let it ring. Here's what's going to happen, I continue, my voice steady despite my racing heart. You're going to tell Derek exactly why you've been poisoning his mind against my success. Or I'll let my distributor know who's been leaking confidential pricing information to their competitors. You wouldn't. Try me. I've got nothing left to lose. I turn back to my workbench, picking up a delicate pair of pliers. But you and Derek? You've got everything. Lucas leaves without another word. Mom squeezes my shoulder. That was either very brave or very dangerous, she says. Maybe both. I start working on a new piece, the metal cold and unforgiving under my hands. But sometimes you have to break something completely before you can remake it into something better. The email from Evan arrives at 3 in the morning. My hands shake as I read it twice, 3 times, making sure I understand what he's offering. An exclusive line for Cartier, my designs featured in their flagship stores across Europe. The kind of opportunity that changes everything. The kind of opportunity Derek always said would never come. My phone lights up with his name again, the 20th call today. This time, I answer. The mortgage payment bounced, he says instead of hello. I thought we could discuss this like adults. I focus on the delicate wire piece I'm shaping, letting the familiar motions steady my voice. Funny how you want to discuss things now. Was that before or after you tried to access my business accounts? Those accounts belong to both of us. Everything we built. Everything I built. The wire snaps in my hands. While you were telling everyone at your firm that I had an expensive hobby. Silence crackles between us. Then, Lucas told me about your meeting. About your threats. Not threats. Promises. I set down my tools. How long have you known about what he did to my European contracts? Olivia, he's my brother. He needed. And what am I, Derek? The pause tells me everything. I hear papers shuffling on his end. The house payment. Is your problem now? Check your email. My lawyer sent over the separation agreement this morning. I'm keeping my business assets. You're keeping the house you insisted we needed. You can't afford to walk away from this marriage. Evan's email glows on my screen. The advance payment alone would cover 5 years of mortgage payments. Actually, I can't afford not to. A knock at the door makes me turn. Clara stands there, holding up a bottle of champagne. Behind her, Mom's already getting glasses from the cabinet. Think carefully about what you're doing, Derek says, his voice dropping into that familiar, patronizing tone. You're emotional right now. Making rash decisions. I look at the women in the kitchen, my real support system. At my workbench covered in half-finished pieces that will soon sit in Cartier displays. At the life I built while he was busy trying to contain it. No, Derek. For the first time, I'm thinking perfectly clearly. I pause, letting the weight of the moment settle. By the way, Lucas isn't the only one who keeps records. Check your email again in an hour. I think your boss might be interested in knowing whose designs you've been passing off as investment opportunities. I hang up before he can respond. Clara pops the champagne cork, and Mom hands me a glass. To clear thinking, Clara says, grinning. I raise my glass, feeling lighter than I have in years. To expensive hobbies. Lucas shows up at my studio unannounced, his face ashen. Through the window, I see Derek pacing in the parking lot, phone pressed to his ear. You have to stop this, Lucas says, dropping a manila envelope on my workbench. The board meeting's tomorrow. If you send those design records to his boss. Like you sent my pricing information to my competitors? I continue soldering the delicate gold chain I'm working on. Letting the torch's flame speak louder than my anger. That was different. I was desperate. He runs his hands through his hair. Derek's about to make partner. Everything he's worked for. Everything he stole. I set down the torch, meeting his eyes. Those designs he's been showing the investment team? The ones that got him fast-tracked for partner? They're mine. Every single one. Lucas freezes. He said you were collaborating. Is that what he told you when he copied my portfolio during my Milan trip? I open my laptop, turning it to show him the timestamps. Or when he registered patents for my designs under his name. Through the window, I watched Derek end his call, his shoulders slumping. The sight should satisfy me, but something hollow opens up in my chest instead. He'll lose everything, Lucas whispers. Like I was supposed to. I pull out another envelope, sliding it across the bench. These are the real records, everything he took, everything he claimed. What you do with them is up to you. Why are you giving these to me? Because you're not the only one who was desperate. I pick up my torch again. The difference is, I built something new instead of trying to tear someone else down. Lucas stares at the envelope, then at his brother outside. If I show these to the board, then you'll be the hero who saved the firm from fraud. Funny how revenge works both ways, isn't it? He leaves without another word, clutching both envelopes. Through the window, I watch their confrontation, Lucas showing Derek the papers, Derek's face crumpling as he realizes what's happening. What his brother's about to do. My phone buzzes. Evan's message lights up the screen. Cartier loves the new collection. When can you start? I look at the brothers in the parking lot, at the life I'm dismantling with a few pieces of paper. Derek looks up, meets my eyes through the window. For a moment, I see the man who once believed in me, before fear turned his love into control. I text Evan back, I'll book my flight tomorrow. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone else's dreams. Sometimes it's about finally having the courage to chase your own. The board meeting ends at exactly 2:47 p.m. I know because I'm sitting in my car outside Derek's office building, watching executives file out one by one. Lucas emerges first, shoulders rigid, avoiding eye contact with anyone. Then Derek, his tie loose, face gray. My phone vibrates, Clara calling again. I let it go to voicemail. She doesn't understand why I need to be here, to witness this. Neither does Mom, who spent breakfast trying to convince me to focus on packing for Paris instead. Derek spots my car. For a moment, he just stands there, then starts walking over. I roll down my window before he can knock. Satisfied? His voice cracks on the word. The board's launching a full investigation. They're suspending me pending the results. Like you suspended my business deals when Lucas fed you false information? The words taste like ash in my mouth. I did it for us. He leans down, gripping the car door. Everything I did, the designs, the patents, it was to secure our future. To prove I could. Could what? Control me? I grip the steering wheel tighter. Or just stop feeling so damn threatened by my success. They're going to find everything, Olivia. The fake patents. The stolen designs. Lucas made sure of that. His knuckles whiten on the door. My career's over. Are you happy now? The truth hits like a physical blow, I'm not. This hollow victory feels nothing like the revenge I imagined. I reach for my purse, pull out an envelope. What's this? A letter to the board. Explaining that we collaborated on those designs. That I gave you permission to use them. My voice sounds distant, even to myself. It won't save your job, but it might save you from fraud charges. He stares at the envelope, then at me. Why? Because destroying you won't fix what broke between us. I start the car. My flight leaves tomorrow. The divorce papers are with my lawyer. Sign them, Derek. Let's both move on. Olivia, wait, he steps back as I pull away, the envelope clutched in his hand. In my rearview mirror, I see Lucas approaching him, probably to twist the knife deeper. My phone buzzes again, Evan this time, with final details for the Cartier launch. I should feel triumphant. Instead, I feel empty, like I've won a war but lost something essential in the process. Maybe revenge isn't about destroying someone else. Maybe it's about finding the strength to walk away, to build something new from the ashes of what was lost. I turn toward Mom's house, toward the packed suitcases and the one-way ticket to Paris. Tomorrow, I'll start over. But today, I let myself mourn the death of a marriage that began with love and ended with two people trying to break each other. The airport terminal buzzes with early morning activity as I wheel my carry-on toward security. 6 hours until my flight to Paris. 6 hours until I can leave everything behind. Olivia. Derek's voice cuts through the crowd. He's running toward me, clutching something in his hand. Security eyes him warily. Whatever you're planning, don't. I step back, scanning for exits. It's over. I found this in your old design book. He holds up a sketch, my first jewelry design, dated 7 years ago. His handwriting in the margin reads, "This is extraordinary. You're extraordinary. Don't." My voice cracks. You lost the right to use those words against me. I'm not here to manipulate you. He looks different, defeated, but somehow lighter. Lucas told me everything. About how he orchestrated my promotion using your designs. About how he played us both. That doesn't change what you did with them. No, it doesn't. He runs his hand through his disheveled hair. But I need you to know, I didn't steal your designs for the promotion. I showed them because I was proud. Because for years, being Olivia Bennett's husband was the only thing that made me feel special. The truth hits harder than any lie could have. You destroyed us because you couldn't handle being in my shadow. I destroyed us because I forgot how to stand in your light. He holds out the sketch. The board reinstated me after your letter, but I resigned anyway. Some things cost too much to keep. The flight announcement echoes overhead. Final boarding call for the Paris connection. I have to go. I reach for the sketch, but he pulls it back slightly. I know. But before you do, Lucas didn't just sabotage you. He sabotaged every major deal I made in the last 5 years. The promotion was his way of setting me up to fail spectacularly. A bitter laugh escapes him. Turns out we were both his revenge plot. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know that your success wasn't what threatened me. It was my failure to achieve my own. I take the sketch finally, my fingers brushing his. What will you do now? Start over. Build something that's actually mine. He steps back. Maybe that's something we both needed to learn. The final boarding call sounds again. I turn towards security, then pause. Derek? That first design you praised? It was terrible. But you made me believe I could do better. You did. You became extraordinary. I just forgot to grow with you. I walk through security without looking back, the sketch tucked safely in my bag. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't in destroying someone else's dreams, it's in finally being free to chase your own, without guilt, without fear. And without the weight of someone else's insecurities holding you down. The Cartier showroom in Paris gleams with spotlights and champagne glasses. My new collection sits in pristine displays, each piece telling its own story of transformation. Evan beams as buyers cluster around us, their excitement palpable. My phone buzzes. A text from Clara, Lucas just confessed everything to the board. Derek's name is cleared, but Lucas faces fraud charges. You okay? I slip the phone away without responding, focusing instead on the delicate pendant at the center of my display. It's inspired by that first terrible design Derek kept, but transformed, evolved. The flaws that once made it awkward now give it character. Strength. Madam Bennett? A familiar voice makes me turn. Derek stands there in a well-worn suit, looking both out of place and perfectly at home. I hope I'm not interrupting. You flew to Paris? He gestures to the pendant. I recognize the design. Wanted to see how it turned out. A pause. It's beautiful. Like watching a butterfly emerge from everything that tried to contain it. Derek. I'm not here to complicate things. He pulls out an envelope, the divorce papers, signed. I'm here to set us both free. And to tell you that I started my own consulting firm. Building something that's actually mine this time. I take the envelope, noting how light it feels. And Lucas? Getting what he earned. Turns out revenge is a lot like jewelry design, the flaws are what make it real. Evan waves, gesturing to more buyers. Derek steps back. Your moment awaits. He smiles, genuine this time, without the shadow of insecurity. By the way, that pendant? The original design wasn't terrible. It was just waiting for you to become the artist who could see its potential. He turns to leave, but I catch his arm. Why did you really come? To return something. He places my grandmother's sapphire ring in my palm, the one he never resized. I finally had it adjusted. Seemed right that it should fit you perfectly now. The ring slides on easily, sitting exactly where it should. When I look up, Derek's gone, lost in the crowd of admirers surrounding my collection. My phone buzzes again, Mom this time, proud of you, sweetheart. Not for the success. For finding your own light. I touched the sapphire ring, then the pendant inspired by past imperfections. Sometimes the most beautiful things we create come from our deepest wounds. And sometimes revenge isn't about destroying what hurt us, it's about transforming it into something that sets us free. I turn back to my collection, to the future I've built from the ashes of what was lost. Each piece tells a story of transformation. Of strength. Of learning to shine without dimming yourself for someone else's comfort. And that, perhaps, is the sweetest revenge of all.